I want you to get together.
Hello everyone. I've got something pretty cool to share with you guys today. Someone called Hassan sent me an email. He says, I've been following your channel with great enthusiasm for some months now. Especially the Clown NEPHILIM collection interests me very much. I live in Germany but have Sinhalese ancestors. He says maybe the Sri Lankan masks could be interesting for you. The masks are used in folklore to ward off demons. I think this is just the common meaning, and the real reason for the masks has been lost. The masks display a variety of colours, and often show a reptilian appearance. The wide grin is also common. I have attached some personal pictures of the masks. I look forward to hearing from you. So he sent me a few images here, which I'll just quickly show you. So these are some of his own personal ones from his own family and in his own home. And look at these things. He's right, you know, these are very Gorgon-esque and literally Medusa-like with the snakes for hair thing going on here. And obviously Sri Lanka is an island just off the southeast coast, I believe, of India. Obviously far removed from, let's say, the Mediterranean. But they also have this similar motif going on, this depiction of a demon being something with, a buck-toothed, wide-grinned smile, with the tongue sticking out, of course, and the snake for hair, or snake headdress motif. So another one to add to the list, which follows the same pattern I've been showing in my videos now for over 6 years. I mean, look at this one, look at the cheeky, Joker-like, clownish, wide-toothed grin on this one. Yeah, but fascinating, isn't it? A close-up of the other one as well. So I did some digging on this to find out what's going on here and what the cultures who create these masks believe they are doing. So I found this website, and it basically breaks down the 3 specific types of masks used in Sri Lankan culture. So if we look at the first type of mask, it's the Raksha mask. So a Raksha mask is a mask that Sri Lankans use in a lot of festivals and cultural dances. Raksha means demon, and the masks are apotropaic, which means that it is intended to ward off evil. They are printed in vibrant colours and bulging eyes and protruding tongues, and they depict various types of demons. So let's go down here. It says here that they are a tribute to Rakshasas, a race that earlier ruled Sri Lanka and could assume 24 different forms. But only a few of these forms are performed. So these are some of the forms of the Rakshasas, an ancient race that ruled over Sri Lanka once, that could shapeshift. So we have the cobra that captures its entities and makes them slaves. It goes on here, you can read the many different types. I'm not going to go through them all, but look at the aesthetics of all the types of demons represented in this specific ritualistic mask. Bright, psychedelic, fractal patterned colours, dragon, serpentine, snake-like facial features, a big, wide grin with many teeth being shown and 2 sharp, bucked, fanged teeth in the process, serpent symbolism everywhere intertwined with these imagery. It's all there, guys. Very clownish, very psychedelic, very trippy. The same aesthetics we've seen all across the world. So this is the one particular type of mask. So one thing when looking into this mask really got my attention, and it's about this Rakshasas, the race that earlier ruled Sri Lanka. Now obviously I'm writing the book on a lot of this right now, and this particular topic is fascinating to me. Because if you look into the Rakshasas, here's some imagery you can find, mainly on Wikipedia as the best imagery, but it gives you an idea of just what these things were and how they were described. So, coming to the top here, just a brief overview of who these people were. They are a race of usually malevolent beings, prominently featured in Hindu mythology. They reside on Earth, but possess supernatural powers, which they usually use for evil, such as disrupting Vedic sacrifices or eating humans. They are offered a distinction from the Yakshas, their cousins, who are depicted to be forces of destruction. The term is also used to describe Asuras, a class of power-seeking beings that oppose the benevolent Devas. The female form of a Rakshasa is a Rakshasi. So I think what we're looking at here, guys, is a literal depiction of Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels mating with human women, just the Hindu version. This is what they called them. So they were often depicted as shape-shifting, fierce-looking, enormous, monstrous-looking creatures with two fangs protruding from the top of the mouth and having sharp, claw-like fingernails. They were shown as being mean, growling beasts and as insatiable man-eaters that could smell the scent of human flesh. Some of the more ferocious ones were shown with flaming red eyes and red hair, drinking blood with their cupped hands from human skulls, similar to the representation of a vampire in later Western mythology. Generally, they could fly, vanish, and had Maya, magical powers of illusion, which enabled them to change size at will and assume the form of any creature. The female equivalent of a Rakshasa is a Rakshasi. So what we're looking at here is a populous race that were all over the earth at one point, that were said to be man-eaters, and had a gleeful appearance when the slaughter on the battlefield was at its worst. So these were great warriors as well. They were also, if I go down here, described to be giants, and the word itself has links to the word giant. So here we go. So in languages, Raksasa now means giant, gigantic, huge and strong. The Malaysian variant recognises the word as an outright official equivalent to monster, whereas the Indonesian variant uses it more colloquial. So what we're saying here is, the word itself is synonymous with giant or gigantic or monstrous. They were a race that plagued mankind, and here's an image depicting one of them, and I think we have the similar depiction, but this is something quite akin to a clown, we would call this day and age, I would say, with the white face paint motif, the button nose here, the circular button nose, a big wide red toothy grin, paint all over the face, multicoloured fractal psychedelic clothing and patterns. The aesthetics are all there. So it's fascinating, that these masks are trying to depict these particular types of demons known as the Nephilim, which had serpentine features inherited from their parents, but they also had shape-shifting abilities, it says here. They had supernatural powers, probably also inherited from their supernatural angelic fathers. Truly fascinating that, this culture openly worships them. This is what their culture is all about. It's about veneration of these demons. And even, this gentleman who sent me this email says even he doesn't believe that this has anything to do with warding off evil spirits. And this is his culture. He says, I think they've forgot the real reason, and they just say it's to ward off evil spirits now. And I'll never understand this concept of how does wearing the mask of a demon scare off demons? I mean, just think about that concept. It's ludicrous in its own right. I think something else is going on here, So moving on, these masks take many forms, and there was a second set of masks that were worn by these people in a different ritual. So if we go here to this website, it's quite interesting. It's written by someone else who lives in Sri Lanka, and he has some choice words here which were quite bizarre, which I think is definitely worth sharing with you. So Sri Lanka, small, but when it comes to culture, we are truly unmatched. Different parts of this island nation have mastered different types of arts for the last 1,000 years or so, and the southern part of the island has many arts and histories contained. For example, the southern dance style, the southern musical instruments, even the way they fish is an art that no other part in the island follows. So we go down here, it says there's a city of Ambalangoda. Am I pronouncing that right? Ambalangoda, the city of masks. And here you'll find a very special stories behind these masks revealed. And there's this awful video here, which I'm not going to play, but this hostess is just awful. I don't think she really wanted to be there. But anyway, reading on. The history of Sri Lankan masks actually dates as far back as the 15th century with strong links to devil worship. For anyone interested in the art of Sri Lankan mask carving and masked dances, A trip to Ambalangoda is a must, where you'll find a mask museum, a museum, workshop and library dedicated to everything mask related. The Masks of Sri Lanka suggests dramatic and varying means to the visual image, hopes and imagination arising from beliefs and fears of the rural folks. These are considered to be part of religion, ritual dramas and folk theatre. Yeah, so Sri Lankan masks, meaning character face, is used 3 distinct situations. The ritual mask in god and demon rituals, the theatre mask, which enhances the theatrical, the visual and symbolic effect on the character, and the carnival or festive or ceremonial mask. So the gara are used in all 3 contexts. Behind the carving of many masks is a traditional tale, an age-old belief structure. So these masks are an echo of something ancient that went through Sri Lankan culture. We mainly use masks for dances, while hanging masks in the household to cast off the evil eye is also popular. So this evil eye concept, it echoes to me a Freemason understanding that the all-seeing eye is to represent that there is a God that over-presides everything. There is a creator. The Freemasons refer to them as the architect of the universe, the grand master of the universe, Also in Egyptian culture, it understood as Ra, the eye, the all-seeing eye of the all-seeing creator God. But in these traditions, it's considered that this creator God is evil, is a bad thing. It's kind of like the Gnostic understanding that God is like the demiurge, and the demiurge created the earth as a prison to keep human mortals trapped within. And, it's all an inversion of the truth, basically. It's the idea that the all-seeing God is a bad thing. So here, people hang the masks of demons to keep God out of their home. But obviously they don't understand that that's what they're doing in that sense. They consider it a good thing, and they refer to God as the evil eye. Now, I don't know if that's what they know they're doing, but my interpretation based on other cultures is something like that seems to be happening here. So that's my theory anyway. There are 3 types of mask dances. The Raksha, which is the demon, the Kolam, which is the folk tale, and the Sani, which is the devil dance. So let's look into this devil dance, shall we? So the Sani here, the Sani Yakuma, sometimes known as the Da'ata Saniyas, is a traditional Sinhalese exorcism ritual. The ritual consists of 18 masked dances, okay, each depicting a similar illness or ailment affecting humans. Now it's interesting, because you go on here and we have this origin of this idea that demons represent illness. So it was believed that illnesses were brought on humans by demons, and these beliefs and rituals could have prehistoric roots. Interesting. According to folklore, the 18 demons who are depicted on the Sani Yakumi originated during the time of Buddha. The story goes that the king of Lishavis of Vaishali suspected his queen of committing adultery and had her killed. However, she gave birth when she was executed, and her child became the Kola Sinia, who grew up feeding on his mother's corpse. The Kola Sani demon destroyed the city, seeking vengeance on his father, the king. He created 18 lumps of poison and charmed them, hereby turning them into demons who assisted him in destruction of the city. They killed the king and continued to wreak havoc in the city, killing and eating thousands daily, until finally being tamed by the Buddha and agreed to stop harming humans. Each of these demons are believed to affect humans in the form of illnesses. The Sani Yakuma ritual summons these demons and banishes them back to the demon world after bringing them under control. Although it is unclear when the ritual began, it has been performed in the southern and western parts of the country since ancient times. So this story, it's a fascinating one, especially with the research I've been doing. It seems to echo this idea that the wife of a king got pregnant, and the king didn't believe it was his child, so she was executed. Okay, and she gave birth in death to a demon. And the myth goes, especially let's say in Greek mythology, the gods raping human women, and those women then giving birth to demigods or giants or demons, let's call them, is a common story. And it always seems like the gods, or the pantheon of angels, the angelic gods of the Greek pantheon, were always trying to impregnate the daughters of kings or someone within the royal families. It's always the king's daughter they lusted after and raped, basically. And this is a similar type of story, you know. Strange. So, you know, what I think the methodology behind this raping of the king's daughters or the king's wives is to create a legitimate heir to take over rulership of the people. I think that was the idea behind it all, and the reason why the angels selected specific women like this, to do with the rulership of the humans. And this seems to be a similar story. That's my theory anyway. I'm just seeing parallels here from my own research, and this seems to be a running theme. You know, and this demon went on to eat humans, destroy the cities, and bring a plague upon everybody and kill them by the thousands. And this demon seemed to have the ability to create other demons. And obviously this story is steeped in allegory, and it's a very shortened story, but look at the image of this particular demon. It's a psychedelic looking giant with humans in his hands and a human in his teeth, between his teeth, being devoured, with serpentine hair, snakes for hair, and even people within the hair here. This is a giant with reptilian features, which it got from its parents, the seraphim reptilian viper-faced angels, and it went on to wreak havoc on mankind and eat them. And here are all the other demons this one particular demon gave birth to and spread during its time. And they also have wide grins, psychedelic coloured skin and patterns going on, and this Gorgon-esque look about them. You know, just like their father, the creator, this giant here, this Nephilim. You know, I do believe the Nephilim reproduced once they were born and continued to spread, you know. The earth was full of them, and look at this example. It's truly terrifying. It's got the huge red-lipped, covered in blood teeth grin. You know, something we're very, we see a lot with clowns, you know. A fascinating depiction here. And I do think it's been lost, you know, to the culture itself, just where these forms come from and what they're trying to represent. But I think I'm figuring it out, you know. And this is definitely one I'm going to put into the book, for sure. I think there's more research to be done with this culture. It seems the Sri Lankan culture seems to be still vividly depicting the demonic realm in the culture today, and it's not really as nuanced as other cultures. It's quite obvious what they're doing, and they say, you know, yeah, we worship demons. That's what we do. Our culture is based on the demonic depictions of these entities. Interesting, you know, and how they're so candid about it. It's fascinating. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with me. Just a few other things I want to reel off here. So we're looking at this particular entity, you know. But I was thinking about this whole idea of the demons always seem to be shown with a lot of teeth showing at once. They have these big wide smiles. And someone sent me some information about Andre the Giant. Now, I don't know much about this. Maybe it was before my time, but from what I can gather here, he was a famous, very, very large person who I think he did some work in professional wrestling in that scene. Perhaps did some movie work, I don't know, but was a bit of a sideshow, you know. Yeah, anyway, he was said to have a very wide, clownish-like grin. And there's this running joke that he never brushed his teeth or something like that. But look at this, how many tiny teeth this guy has here on this row. You know, he does seem to have this very wide smile. And it turns out he actually had 68 teeth. That's double the amounts a normal human has. And he even grew 6 more as an adult. His condition is known as acromegaly. and it often produces double rows of teeth. And it was said that the Nephilim had 2 rows of teeth. It's a common description, and here's what that would have looked like, and they would have naturally had a much wider smile and grin than the average human. And that's something maybe we saw come down into the Nephilim of the past. A side effect of becoming giant is to grow more teeth than a normal human. Perhaps because you look into this, and it's a disorder that occurs when your body makes too much growth hormone. Now, I'm not saying people who have this illness have genetics of a Nephilim within them. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is something similar like this must have happened when a human was born with angelic properties. Something about their growth just continued, and they just kept growing and growing and growing until mankind couldn't really sustain them anymore, and then they turned evil and cannibalistic, along with their pride and hubris of being giants among men, And this double row teeth thing seems to be a side effect of becoming giant. And we can even see it today, in people who have this particular illness, and they end up with this wide-grinned thing going on. So interesting, just an interesting point, a bit of fun, I suppose. Don't take this too seriously. Don't take this point into anything negative against certain people who have this illness. I'm sure it's not a pleasant thing to have in reality. Okay, it comes with many side effects, but an interesting point nonetheless. Now, to sum up this video, I'm going to move on to something a little bit different. And in the past, I've talked about musicians representing clownish features all the time, all the time. And Wes Ballin is one of these who is always dressing up in wild and crazy ways when he does his performance. Now, Wes Ballin was the lead guitarist for a band called Limp Bizkit. Among many other bands, he's quite famous within the musical circles of musicians. He's well known. He's well integrated. I think he has something going on with Marilyn Manson. I'm often seeing him depicted with Marilyn Manson in these images. Maybe they were friends or something, or maybe they're not friends anymore and there's some drama. Wes Ballin denounces Marilyn Manson in this title here. I don't know, I don't care about their interpersonal dramas, but look at the aesthetics, He dressed up as the Hat Man regularly. Down here you can see this one. He's seen wearing the fez of the Shriners, who are infamous for dressing as clowns. Here's one of him literally dressed in white skin with clown makeup on his face, wearing a fractal patterned glass mask with the rainbow on there. This guy likes dressing up as something akin to a Nephilim demon or a clown on a regular basis. And one of my subscribers said that he was actually at one of these concerts, and Wes flicked his pick into the crowd and he got the pick. So he sent me an image of it. He sent me this email. So this is interesting just to share with you guys. So someone called Jeffrey sent me this email, and he explained that, sorry for the delay, but this is the pic from Wes Ballin that I ended up with after going to a Limp Bizkit concert in New York City about 7 or 8 years ago. I no longer have the pic. I gave it to a co-worker after I ended up with it. But the pic is definitely charged in some sort of way because there's this whole story behind the pic. Let me know what you think. The symbol on one side is very interesting. I can't make it out. Maybe it's some sort of sigil. But the entity on the other side seems to be related to H.P. Lovecraft. Let me know what you think. I'll write out the whole story to you in another email about what happened after I got this thing too. I look forward to your reply. Jeff, brother in Christ. So he sent me an image of Wes Ballin's pick. And it says on one side, by accepting this guitar pick, you hereby agree to allow the demon, Ugolanak, to attach itself to you and torment your soul forever. This pick carries a curse and a calling to Ugolanak. And then there's this sigil on the other side. And now I've tried to find this sigil in the Goetias and wherever I can find sigils, but no, it seems to be a unique one, made specifically, maybe by Wes himself, I'm not sure. Sigils are often used to make personal invocation symbols for their own personal desires or gods. Ugolanak is actually a god from the H.P. Lovecraft fictional world. He's known as the Defiler, is a great old one. He is the god of perversion and depravity. not just average human perversions or depravities. It goes on to be like the worst kind of depravities. Depravity and perversion is a creature reoccurrent in the Cthulhu mythos. And these are the main images depicted with Ugolinak. It's not pleasant. It's a headless fat beast with tongues coming out of his palms, basically. That's the generic image of Ugolinak. A lovely image, a lovely thing to depict on a pic and to wish upon other people, you know. So this person, obviously, Wes Ballin, has this pic where he's basically saying, give in to depravity and perversion, you know. Sick stuff, really. And he's often dressing like a demonic clown all the time. And pretty much all of his shows, he tries to come up with something unique and different every time. But he's invoking the spirits in his performances, clearly demonic, and he promotes, you know, the demonic within his, on his pick as well, and he throws the pick out in the crowd and intentionally tries to curse somebody by attaching a demon to them. Interesting stuff. So a bit of fun there to top this video off. I think it's interesting as well, just on a side note, that the Defiler, or something like that, is an entity in the Spawn universe. And obviously, if Ugolinak is often known to be the Defiler, the Great Defiler, in the Spawn universe, the Great Defiler is a clown demon. And this demon has this spider-like form here, but it also manifests into reality as a clown, as this clown, the Defiler. And if that's the Defiler is the thing he is trying to attach to people, and Wes Ballin worships the Defiler, you know, on his pick with its own sigil. And Wes Ballin often dresses in clown-like attire, at least the death style makeup, you know. Is it all connected? It all goes back to this idea of clowns, you know. Do the musicians know something we don't know about the aesthetics of the demons? I'll leave you to ponder on that, guys. It's a bit of fun to finish this video. I will also say, just to end this, the NEPHILIM Look Like Clowns book project has hit 1/3 of its goal already, and I am overwhelmed. I cannot thank you guys enough for these generous donations. All those who have donated £100 or more will get a free signed copy of the book, but all of you who have donated any amount at all will also get a special thank you in the book itself as well. Honestly, guys, this is incredible, and thank you so much for these generous donations. And if you do want to contribute to this book, the links are down below. But other than that, guys, I will leave it there. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.
I want you to get together.